Let's jump right into this explainer, Maximizing Impact, the Science of Value for Money and SROI. We are bypassing the usual corporate jargon today, and we're diving straight into the cinematic anatomy of impact. You know, we hear the phrase social change all the time, right? But how often do we actually stop to measure it? Today, we're exploring the rigorous and honestly fascinating science of validating social change. Because let's face it, just wanting to do good in the world, it simply isn't enough anymore. We need to know definitively that the resources we invest are actually moving the needle and maximizing human potential.
Which brings us to a really massive question. How do you put a price on a changed life? I mean, when a business sells a product, measuring success is easy, right? You just look at the profit margins. But measuring social good, that is historically one of the most notoriously difficult challenges in the development sector. Think about it. If you provide clean water to a village or educate a child, the dividends of those actions literally ripple out across generations. Capturing that immense value on paper requires a very specific, highly structured approach. That way, we aren't just relying on good intentions, but on undeniable proof.
So, to demystify these complex evaluation metrics, we're going to be relying solely on the brilliant analysis by Ajmal Ilahi. His work actually provides a masterclass in how to reverse engineer social impact so that human potential is maximized per dollar. Ilahi's insights allow us to kind of cut through the noise, to look at social interventions through a lens of strict scientific accountability. We're going to look at the exact frameworks he highlights to ensure that every ounce of effort and funding translates into a better reality for people on the ground.
Section 1. The Value for Money Framework.
Now, this Value for Money Framework, or VFM, isn't just some abstract theory debated in university classrooms. It's actually the authoritative gold standard. It forces organizations to ask the tough questions, meticulously tracking the journey of every single dollar, from the exact moment it's committed to the moment it actually transforms a life. And it's championed, actually required, by global heavyweights like the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, the FCDO, and the National Audit Office, the NAO. When institutions of this magnitude invest billions into global development, they absolutely do not operate on guesswork. They mandate the VFM framework because it's the undisputed global standard for evaluating project success and holding decision-makers accountable.
Moving on to Section 2, Decoding the 4 E's. These 4 pillars, economy, efficiency, effectiveness, and equity, they act like a chain reaction right at the core of the VFM framework. If one link is broken, the entire social intervention can fail. So, the first E is economy. Now, it's a super common misconception that economy just means buying the cheapest things possible. Actually, scratch that. That is incredibly dangerous in development. Economy is fundamentally about minimizing the cost of your starting materials, your inputs, without sacrificing the vital quality needed for success. For example, if you're building a medical clinic, buying the absolute cheapest concrete might save money today. But when that building crumbles into storm, your project has totally failed. Economy means finding that perfect balance. Procuring inputs of the appropriate quality at the absolute right price.
Next up in our chain reaction is efficiency. Once you've purchased your materials economically, efficiency measures how well you use them. It's essentially the engine room of the project. It's all about ensuring that the resources you gathered are smoothly, quickly, and effectively converted into tangible outputs. So if you have the right medical supplies, how efficiently are your doctors actually seeing patients? Are there logistical bottlenecks? Efficiency ensures that zero time and zero resources are wasted during the delivery of your project.
But here's where we hit a really critical pivot point: effectiveness. You could have built the clinic cheaply and you could be processing patients quickly, but how do we know if those outputs actually changed lives? Did the local disease rate actually drop? Well, that's exactly where effectiveness comes in. It bridges the gap between what a project did and what a project achieved. Effectiveness validates that your outputs successfully trigger the desired long-term, real-world outcomes.
And the final, incredibly crucial E is equity. In the past, a lot of evaluation frameworks just ignored this. But as Ajmal Ilahi highlights, an intervention is only truly successful if its benefits reach the most vulnerable populations fairly. You might have a highly effective education program, but if it only serves wealthy urban neighborhoods and completely ignores rural or marginalized communities, it completely fails the equity test. Social change isn't real unless it's inclusive. Equity ensures nobody gets left behind.
Section 3. Measuring true cost effectiveness. So you really can't look at economy or efficiency in isolation. Cost effectiveness is the ultimate holistic view. To see cost effectiveness in action, let's look at a development literacy program. Take a look at this comparison.
Traditionally, an organization might celebrate that they bought 10,000 textbooks at a great price, but that's just input cost. True cost effectiveness completely ignores how many books you bought. It only cares about validating whether those books actually resulted in kids learning to read. Did student literacy rates actually increase? If you bought 10,000 books but literacy didn't budge even a little bit, your cost effectiveness is zero. It forces us to focus on the human outcome rather than just the financial input.
Section 4. Monetizing impact with SROI.
Once we've proven that our programs are cost-effective, this brings us to social return on investment, or SROI. You can kind of think of SROI as a universal translator. It's this revolutionary tool that allows organizations to monetize their impacts. It takes complex social, environmental, and economic outcomes, things like increased confidence, better air quality, or lower crime rates, and it literally translates them into a single, undeniable financial value. By speaking the language of finance, SROI allows donors, governments, and policymakers to instantly understand the magnitude of an intervention's success, which of course makes it far easier to secure future funding.
Let's look at a concrete example of this powerful metric in action. Imagine a highly successful maternal healthcare initiative. Through an SROI calculation, researchers can measure the reduced hospital readmissions, the economic stability of mothers returning to work, and the long-term health of the children. They might reveal that for every single dollar invested in the program, it generates a massive $4 in validated social value. I mean, that is a 400% return on investment. When you can present data like this, it's no longer just a plea for charity. It becomes a rock-solid business case for human welfare.
Section 5. Validating real social change.
Understanding these metrics isn't just some dry accounting exercise reserved for auditors. True validation requires us to look way beyond the spreadsheets and the input costs. By rigorously utilizing the value for money framework and calculating social return on investment, project leaders can pinpoint inefficiencies, prevent wasted resources, and redirect funds to where they will literally save lives. It's really about respecting the donor's dollar and, far more importantly, respecting the dignity of the people we are trying to help by ensuring we maximize human potential at every possible turn.
Armed with this science of value, the responsibility now shifts to all of us. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder. When you look at the programs, charities, and policies happening right now in your own community, how will you measure and validate their true impact? Will you settle for knowing how much money they spent, or will you demand to know the social return on investment? Keep asking the tough questions, keep looking for the evidence, and never stop demanding true value for money in the pursuit of a better world.